Okay, my final story for today. I guess I'm in the mood for telling stories. By the way, this premise. Let me turn this treadmill on. I'm down to my last 8 minutes, so I'll make this short. I once had this friend, I forgot what her name was. I used to see her right over at the Starbucks. She once told me, she was going to tell me a story, She started going on and on and on. And I said, is this going to take long? I think she was really PO'd. She never talked to me after that again. But anyway, yeah, I could use a little tact. But anyway, what's the story that I was going to tell you guys? I forgot. Oh, yeah. This has to do with trying to figure out what I want to talk about now. I had it in my brain a minute ago. Well, I'll make up something. Okay, I have an idea. Playing to records, versus playing to actual play-along tracks, minus drums. What I found, when I first started to learn how to play the drums, they didn't have music minus ones yet. So there wasn't that. That happened years later. So in any event, most of my experience in learning to play was playing to records. Now, when I first learned when I first started playing I had a couple of records. I remember I had the Who record, the Tommy record, a lot of Beatles records, but I didn't play the Beatles stuff. But I had the Chicago records. And as I had mentioned, I wanted to play that kind of music. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do like a jazz rock kind of thing. So when I played to those records, I pretty much mastered all the things that Seraphim did. I copied them. And then when I got into Emerson, Lake and Palmer, particularly the Brain Salad Surgery record, I mastered those parts. I could play those parts back in those days, I had to write some pretty flaming technique. I don't play that kind of technique anymore. I don't know, I'd like to try to be able to return to some of that stuff. I'm getting back in shape, but I don't know if I could do those rolls anymore. The rolls in Jerusalem? I used to be able to play those things as fast as car. Spent a lot of time on technique. But in any event, what happened later, as I started to go on, is I found that, and I try to do this with all my students, I found that playing to records, though it's a good reference point where you can hear the drums and kind of have a reference point, you're kind of you hear those drums, so you're influenced by that. Whereas when you have the play-alongs, and there are a lot of guys that have put stuff out recently. Kaz Rodriguez, Dave Weckl put out some really good stuff. Billy Cobham put out some really good stuff. A couple of other guys. I think my favorite stuff is the Kaz Rodriguez. C-A-Z Rodriguez. If you go on YouTube, he has probably about 50 or 60 fantastic play-alongs. And then, but here's what I'm basically suggesting, that if you develop your drum style with these play-alongs versus playing through records, where you're copying the record note per note, you're not really developing your own style, because you're going to end up sounding exactly like the drummer that you might be emulating. But if you're actually doing a play-along where there's no drums, you're kind of on the seat of creating your own style and development, and that's better. I can't play the records anymore. If you put on, once in a while, I might clown around with something. I did a couple of television shows on Public Assets where there were performance segments of me playing to records with the pre-recorded drum tracks. And I'm looking back at those films. Those shows are air sometimes. If you guys call me, I can tell you when they're going to air. There's a couple of things I never really put them on YouTube, right? But in looking back at those shows, I don't know, right, if I would produce those kind of shows anymore, because I was playing along, right, with, you know, tracks, drum tracks that were already there. So it was a little bit weird, right, because my parts, right, weren't exactly what was on the record. So now, right, all the stuff, right, that I put up on YouTube and I play along to don't have drums. My music, the Hot 7 stuff that I'm doing, I haven't put any stuff up that Kaz Rodriguez has done. I don't think that I really want to where I put that stuff up. I did put on a couple of my television shows, but I don't really want to put that stuff up on YouTube because that's Kaz's music, you know, and he plays to it. So I think I'll leave that up to him. But I love the right playing along to some of the stuff because his stuff really makes you think. Let me go to 3.4. But anyway, so yeah, that's my basic suggestion to you guys, that if you're studying, try to get the play-alongs and do it that way rather than play along right to the records. Because when you play in a band, if you're going to eventually do originals or even if you're going to do covers, you're not going to play right the parts exactly that way anyway. You want to kind of put your own personality into it. The great drummers of today are guys right that have sort of their own sound. If you listen right to my drumming, I have a lot of everybody in me. You know, I got a lot of Danny Seraphin in me, and some Billy Cobham, a little bit of Wecco, a lot of Gene Krupa, a little bit of Buddy, a lot of Al Miller. I got a lot of Al Miller in me. Ronnie Gould, I got some things right that he showed me. My late great Uncle Mel. Just things right. But like when I play, I kind of think right. I'm just sort of playing right what's in my brain. It's just, I like to float a lot. I also too, I never play anything the same way twice. But if I'm making a record though in the recording studio, I do try to keep to a reference point as far as the rhythm is concerned. Feel-wise, I'm more of an improviser. But anyway, that's my take on that, and I hope that you guys find it useful. So, if you're practicing, definitely, you can find out all these things up online. You can purchase them, and start off right by the Kaz Rodriguez stuff, because Kaz puts those things up for free, and they're called drumless tracks. There's a couple of other drumless tracks also too that are available online. There's one of Make Me Smile Chicago. It's actually an original recording. They take the drums out. Problem with that though, right, is you still hear a little bit of drums in the background. Or whoever produced it wasn't able to get the drums 100% out. So, alright, that's about my story for today. So, try to get hold of that, and then, try to play around with a lot of musicians. And then, right, you're creating parts. Anyway, good to be here, and I hope you found this useful. And I hope you don't mind that I'm on this treadmill. I'm almost done. I can't stand this. Can't stand being there on this thing. But I'll tell you one thing. I was really overweight, and my cholesterol was dangerously high, as I had mentioned on another segment. And it's now right low, where it should be. And I don't feel right I'm in any danger. So you guys get to the gym. Plus, right, good chance, right, I'll be here a little longer. If you don't exercise, right, you're going to have a lot of problems when you get older. And I'm getting old. Peace.